in everything. It elevates us, it can make us happy, it can make us sad too. The Native Americans were not different in that respect. The people used music in many ways, including healing their people with physical and spiritual problems. This is a little, I guess you'd call it a piccolo. If I can get it to work. This is made of terracotta, and it has 3 faces on it, which is really cool. It has the face here, a face here, and a much longer face here. Really cool piece. And this was made by the Native American people in Central and South America region, made just as their ancestors made these over 1,000 years ago. The Indians like to sing and play music. Children were sung little lullabies made up by their moms when they were little. Some sang songs as they worked, like we listen to music when we work. The men would beat their drums while women sang and ground corn. And like us, it made their work go faster. Now, just as we have special music at church, the Native Americans use different music for their religious ceremonies. They also sang when death was near. They sang songs to bring them good luck when the men set up their traps. And when the Native Americans sang, they did so very loudly. They put their all into it. In fact, their songs would sound very much alike to us, kind of a sing-song type rhythm to them. However, the Indian could tell by the rhythm of the music if it was a song of war, or a song of work, or of religion, of death, or any other kind. Here in North America, rattles, drums, flutes, and whistles were frequently used popular instruments. The rattles were very popular, and some tribes made them by fastening. Here in North America, rattles, drums, flutes, and whistles were used frequently. They were popular instruments to use, and some tribes made them by fastening objects such as stones, shells, animal teeth, pebbles, bone, wood, among a multitude of other objects, directly to wood to shake. And sometimes the rattles were worn around the neck and arms and ankles so that they rattled every time the wearer moved. Now, oftentimes a small bag made of skins or even bark were filled with these other items, and that was shaken by hand in time to the music. Here in Michigan, they often used elm bark to form their rattles out of it. But also tribes in my neck of the woods, and in other areas too, used turtle shells. The remains of the animal, of course, were removed, and the shell was filled with pebbles, and it was attached to a wood or bone handle, most likely wood, or were strapped on the brave's leg just below the knee. So again, that they would have some kind of music in every movement that they made. Now, the drum was very important in all Native American music and dances. The drum set the pace, as it does in rock music today. Sometimes a circle of wood was covered with a rawhide and to form a drum, much like our tambourine. And as the rawhide dried, it formed a tight seal for playing. And they used also what was called a water drum made out of a hollowed out log. Well, only one end was hollowed out. The hollow cavity was filled with water, and a piece of skin was stretched tightly over the top of that. The sound depended on how much water was put inside. The drummer often used his hands to beat out a rhythm on the drum. You've seen it, I'm sure, in movies. But there were also men that made drumsticks. One kind was made from pebbles rolled into a piece of skin and fastened to the end of a stick. And another type was a stick with a hoop at one end, and the hoop was covered with skin to deaden the sound. Now, except for the water drum, it was necessary that to heat the drum so that the drum head would always fit tightly before being used. And I've read that the amount of heat would make different tones when struck with the hand or the drumstick. Now, the flute was another very popular instrument in North America, here in the woodlands, the northern and eastern woodlands, southeast United States. Well, let's just say that most of the tribes in what would be the United States used flutes. They were made from cottonwood or other soft woods, and also out of hollow reeds found by the water. They had 3 to 6 holes for the fingers. And lastly, is an unusual instrument, and I would put it in the percussion category. And it was made from a long, thin piece of wood. One side was flat and had ridges on it, and the ridges were carved into it. One end of the stick was put into the ground, and the player kneeled and held the other end with his left hand, and he held a smooth stick in his right hand and rubbed it on the ridges to make a sort of scraping sound. Now, there are other instruments, some very unique instruments like Central America, South America, as I showed you, made items like these. But they made another type of whistle that is referred to as the death whistle because of the screaming type sound that it made. And it was used actually to repel enemies because it sounded like somebody dying an agonizing death. Here in the Michigan woodlands, they used special drums, midday drums that were used by the Grand Medicine Society, again in healing ceremonies. So music was very important to them. But these are the most important instruments that were used by the Native Americans, and I hope that maybe you'll check some of them out here on YouTube. There are quite a few videos with Native American music, and it's pretty good. That's what I have for you tonight, and I hope that you've enjoyed this little look at the music that the Native American Indians produced with their primitive instruments and the part that it played in their lives. I wish you all good health. I love each and every one of you on the other side of that monitor, and hopefully, God willing, I will see you all again really, really soon. All right, have a good night.